Well, I'm here with Tim Gleason, the actor who plays Alan in The Big Break. So I've done a few of these one-on-ones, Tim, and I have a few more to do. And I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into in doing 11 of these in a short period of time. It's been pretty exhausting, but this all started because Saham, who is like running our socials right now, suggested that I talk to you about your story. On how you came to be like a part of this movie. And I was like, I feel like everyone has a unique, interesting story. I should talk to everyone. But you were the first one that like we were like, this story is actually very, very unexpected. So I'm curious, like from your perspective, what it was like for you from when I don't even know if I sent you the script or just set up a meeting and asked for advice to you actually coming on board.
Yeah, you sent me the script and it was interesting because I was on vacation. I think I was in like Bhutan or something.
Yeah.
And we had a little downtime and I was reading, it was actually beautiful because I was reading the script out on like a patio overlooking the mountains. So, I was in a pretty good mindset when I read it. And I didn't really know what it was you were interested in, because I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not an actor. I work in technology. And so I guess I probably assumed it had a little bit to do with the AI aspect of it, but I didn't really know exactly what I was looking for in reading it, you know.
Yeah. Did I not give you context until after you read it?
I don't think so. And I remember we set up time to talk and you said, you're working now with these AI tools. At the time, I think it was around the time that Chat GPT kind of came onto the scene. So this is when
Yeah.
modern AI was just starting to become part of the zeitgeist. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, and I had been working with these tools to try to build products and things like that. And so I had I think some amount of insight into what they were good at and what they weren't good at. Um, Having said that, I mean, this is more of a sci-fi movie. It wasn't really meant to be, at least it wasn't supposed to be constrained by the technology of today, I guess.
Yeah.
It's,
I've always described it as like I want this movie to take place a little bit in the future, but also today at the same time, if that's possible. And I think the
yeah.
fact that this movie's already taken us a year, it's already, every week it's getting more realistic. So but I came to you, uh, we worked together previously in tech for a short period of time. I knew we didn't really, I mean, we worked on the same team, but never like uh really like on the same projects necessarily or like together. But you're one of the most respected engineers in my network, at least, and I think at Google in general. Um, and I knew you were working in AI. And I've always, since we've worked together, I've considered you a friend and we've kept in touch. You were always like very supportive of the film work I was doing there. So it always meant a lot to me. And really, I didn't really, maybe part of the reason I didn't give you context is I didn't really know what I was asking for. I
Well,
think I was asking for, I think I thought I was going to build an AI of some kind, and that was going to be Alan.
I think I remember now I remember thinking about it is I think you were asking me like how I thought you should film it or like I think the idea was, well, how would we present this AI on screen? Would it be animated and things like that? And I knew first of all that it wasn't like a high budget movie, and so you're not going to be able to hire, special effects people. But also, I had actually worked with some, motion capture type stuff in a previous role, because it was fairly common now with, Snapchat filters and things like that to be able to see your own face and put things on it. And so I kind of understood a little bit about motion capture. And so, when I started, my engineering mind was like, well, you probably do motion capture and then you animate it. And then also, but, animation, computer graphics is getting so good that it's almost, you almost can't tell the difference between real real and computer generated. And so at that point, like you'd be doing motion capture and then animating something to be lifelike. And aside from being really expensive and resource intensive, I just said, why wouldn't you just film somebody, have them come in remote? And I
Yeah,
think probably that made you feel a little better because it was something you knew how to do, and it wasn't like, okay, I have to figure out all this new technology. I know how to film someone on camera, so I think that's how it started.
yeah. I think I was always open to the idea that there would be a human involved, but I think, yeah, I thought there would have to be some sort of technology component that would require like an engineer's expertise or some form of animation or special effects. But yeah, I think after I know it was like more than like one or two conversations, maybe like three or four. But there was a series of like, okay, you convinced me it was an actor, and then at some point, I had the idea that you should be the actor.
Yeah, and I don't know how to act at all. I've never acted
Yes.
in anything.
But
I always loved films, so of course, like anybody, it's always exciting to see what it's like to make a film and be involved. But I had no idea how to be an actor. Um, but I did feel like at least it was so constrained in the sense that I was, with just my head. I didn't have to worry about arm movements. I always see people talk about how they don't know what to do with their hands. I didn't have any hands, so it made my life a lot easier to be an actor. So.
talk with my hands a lot.
So I felt like hopefully I could do something that was useful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the like. I don't know how to totally describe that intuition, but I that's one thing I'm very like proud of that I thought and very grateful that you were like willing to see me through that um
Yeah.
sort of intuition. Um but I certainly was not expecting you to put on the performance that you did. Um but one thing that you did do that I was like hopeful for and you really followed through was just like AI terminology.
Hmm.
Just little things peppered throughout the movie that was just like, oh, well, an AI would talk about reason Beijing reasoning with
The Asian reason. I
Asian
mean, yeah.
little things like that all throughout.
Certainly, I think for like most people that are in tech, watch movies, and a lot of times sometimes they're very, very good with dialogue. Like I remember very specifically watching The Social Network,
Yeah,
and there were some scenes with him doing some hacking, and I was like, wow, they actually got everything right here. Like they're
yeah.
saying everything right, and most of the time it's just word salad, and nobody really cares. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily said a lot of smart things, but at least I kind of understand a little bit of the terminology, so I could kind of pepper it in there in a way that maybe was a little bit more realistic. Not sure any of the people watching it would notice a difference, though.
I think they absolutely will. But yeah, like Social Network, David Fincher is very like precise with everything that he makes, and yeah, we clearly
Mhm.
didn't have the resources to do that, so I feel like we did the best with with what
Yeah,
with what we had. So let's talk about like your actual performance
yeah,
because you you were able to bring that like comedic kind of at times, which maybe didn't require a lot of like acting chops necessarily because you could kind of do the monotone like AI. Um, I don't know. There was some component to that I felt like we knew that you could do that. But then there was like the really emotional scene you had with Luke.
mm.
Um, there were just in general a lot of like more dramatic scenes. The Shakespeare scene.
Yeah. I don't think that one came out very well, but
We're
just
still
so
figuring out,
perhaps you don't have any acting background, trying to like memorize a sonnet was super difficult for me.
but you pulled it off. You did Shakespeare and you did like the most emotional dramatic scene in the movie
But the,
while in a separate room, uh, unable to see what was happening. You just had
That
eye
was the
line.
hardest part, actually, is that I don't like when we were filming for anybody who's watching this. I was sitting in another room and I was video conferencing in, and I mean, it was basically just FaceTime or whatever. And I couldn't see anything that was going on in the room. I had to kind of like know spots on the wall where I would be looking at somebody.
Yeah.
Even between takes, there'd be conversations happening, and I had no idea like what, when we were getting ready to shoot or what was, I'd hear the camera moving around and stuff like that. And I would think, okay, well, I guess we're not shooting yet, but um, so
For
yeah, it was a little bit harder for me, but I mean, especially since I'm not an actor, it was a little bit easier to not be distracted by all the different things. Like I didn't accidentally look in the camera because there wasn't one.
yeah,
I mean, I couldn't see it. But the
but
emotional scene, I mean, like I said, I don't know how to act at all. And Luke is a pretty accomplished actor. And we spent a bunch of time practicing it while other scenes were being filmed. And he was just, constantly coaching me and not even coaching me, but just sort of like, I mean, definitely coaching, but also just being very encouraging in a lot of different ways. So, I mean, if Luke hadn't been part of it, I wouldn't have been able to even do anything, but I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah, I talked to Luke recently and we've had that conversation. Just like I have no idea what this movie would have been without him because I had so much to do that like he
Yeah.
really did become that sort of acting coach for everyone, I think. I think he really elevated everyone's performance. Um,
He knew what it took to film. Like I'd never filmed anything.
yeah,
And I'm not sure if some of the other people did either. But he understood like what you needed to do to get something good on film. And so he was sort of like when you were setting stuff up, he was kind of prepping us and
yeah,
making sure we knew all of our lines and kind of had the same consistent tone with each other and things like that. And yeah, it was such an interesting process for me. Like I have a lot more respect. I mean, I always had high respect for people that do these things, but maybe more of an understanding of how difficult the process is.
yeah. Um, well, I will say that this was a very unorthodox um, uh, film set.
It may have been unorthodox, but I mean, you tell me. Like, I think it was a fast, kind of a guerrilla production, but I think it also kind of followed. It was still made the way films are made, just in a much more.
Yeah. I think the big difference is like the like the there would have been more film experience cumulatively on set and probably a few more crew members even in that like guerrilla style. So in a sense like not only was Luke offering that like acting expertise like from a directing standpoint like
Yeah,
I like he was absolutely vital in like
for sure.
understanding just what I was doing. Just to have somebody else like understand the filmmaking process was like hugely important to me. Um, but for context, I think we slowly figured out throughout the week like what how to handle you. But I
Yeah.
feel really bad for like those first couple days because that for context, we you couldn't see anything because we realized the only way that that would happen was if there was like a picture in picture on the bottom of the screen, and we couldn't have that.
But I needed to be able to see myself so I knew when my head was in frame. Because
Yeah.
that was the other thing that would happen is I would start moving my head around and then I'd be off frame and I'd hear Avi like, "You're off frame."
I mean, you were like, if we'll have like behind the scenes photos available to people if they want to see it, but you were like kind of like stuck in this position, like you could barely move your head. The backdrop was like, if you move the tiniest bit or move the camera, the tiniest bit or the lights or anything, like it was,
It was really a guerrilla production, that's for sure.
yeah. But what
It
we
was a lot of
realized,
fun.
I think, slowly as we went along. And the most interesting is like scenes where there was like, three actors, like you had, or movement is you had eye lines, like in this
Yeah.
dark room by yourself, like knowing where everyone was going.
Yeah.
It was a lot of like what you did was extremely difficult from an acting perspective. But I think you opened up to me. Well, toward the end of the set, we started bringing you down in between takes to at least like give you a feel for what was happening, which I think really helped one, not seclude you for the whole movie. And
So I couldn't really, it was hard for you guys to know what it was like, but you guys are all having a conversation in another room. And on the video call, I would kind of hear some voices in and out, and you didn't know who was talking to who, or, and so it was a lot easier for me to be in the room right until we started. It made more sense too. I mean, I think we
Yeah.
we figured it out that like I would be in the room right until we started shooting, and then I would run upstairs and
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, that was definitely the right method, but we didn't figure that until like halfway through, I
Yeah.
think. Um, but yeah, so you opened up to me like at the end of the shoot where you were like that being in this dark room by yourself, not being able to see what happened, like actually potentially benefited your performance because you didn't feel like people watching you or like I don't know.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a lot easier for someone that's not used to being, in front of people, whatever, performing in any way. Like, it's as far as I could tell, I was just all alone, singing in the shower. It was basically like singing in the shower. I
Yeah.
think that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah. It's still like yeah, for a lot of people that they wouldn't be able to remove the fact that they know they're still being filmed. But yeah, you pulled it off and you did a great job. So maybe very quickly, like you are retired now. Do you want to just tell a sort of quick backstory as to like uh your journey in tech and how you came to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, my journey in tech's pretty boring. I worked in the industry for a long time, but I worked at Google for a while, and I spent some time in it was kind of an internal incubator for like new product ideas, and that's where we met.
Yeah.
Actually,
Actually,
we met
no, we
before
met on
that.
Daydream.
Yeah, we worked. That's right. We both worked in a virtual reality org for a while, and then we both moved to another org that was kind of an incubator. And it was really fun to kind of be the idea of these jobs were to work on things that were kind of newer technology that hadn't quite made it to the mainstream, to be a little bit of ahead of the curve. And that was the intention of VR. This was a while back. And it was also the intention when we started working with these new large language models, these new AI tools like ChatGPT like things. And so, yeah, my
You were the one success story, I think, right, of Area 120.
oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if anything was successful there, but we did pretty well.
You graduated.
Yeah, we graduated, which was nice, and there was some financial reward which helped accelerate my retirement a little bit. So yeah,
We planned the shoot around your retirement. We pushed the shoot back one day because it was like your last day of work, and then you came straight to film this.
that I think I is that how it worked? I feel like I had 1 week left of work, or did I not? I can't remember now. It was
I'm fairly certain we like planned the shoot, and it was like, can we push this back one day because it's my last day of work? And
is that
we
what it was? Okay,
yeah
yeah.
yeah
It was just the weirdest time for me because I had obviously been working, I don't know, 30 years straight.
yeah
And I don't think I was ever really away from work for more than 3 weeks at a time over 30 years. And I was coming into retirement, and my first day after retirement, I spent, 18 hours a day shooting a film for the next week.
yeah
And yeah, it wasn't tiring at all, really, because it was a lot of energy, but it was such a weird time to do something like that. I
yeah.
remember we were driving back from the place we were shooting, and it was like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow now. I guess I can do anything I want, but yeah, it was an interesting time for sure.
So we filmed almost a year ago. How has your year been in retirement? And has anything changed that you want to talk about? Because you actually talked to me. I think I can at least say that like you have shown more interest in film to me, which is like I think was very rewarding for me to just even see that like um, those like kind of lights go on and those switches go off for you.
I can definitely say that time moves quickly when you don't have any constraints or something. I don't know. I mean, to think it was almost a year ago,
You know,
it's just like, to me, it was just like we've done a lot of traveling. I'd always been interested in film when I was younger, but I never had any talent for it. Like, I could have imagined myself wanting to study film in college and knowing that I didn't have any talent, and it would have just been a waste of everybody's time. But I still enjoy the industry, and certainly spending the time making a film was really enlightening. Like now, sometimes when I'm watching a film, I'll think about how they filmed it. I'll kind of have some idea what it was like being in the room when they were filming it, and I'll have kind of a different appreciation for different things. I don't know that I never would have before. So it was super enlightening for me just to see the process of it, you know.
Yeah. Do you see yourself having any more involvement in movies in the future from more than a viewer standpoint?
I don't know, that's an interesting question. I mean, I do think that having had a lot more free time, I have more time to watch films, and I kind of have, you know, most people have kind of like very specific interests, and so I've every so often I'll stumble across a small film or something like that that I want to watch, and I found that like lots of movies are kind of lost. Like there's just no, they don't smaller films you can't find them anywhere. Like I mean, I suppose you could like you might be able to find them, to stream them, off whatever off license or whatever the right word is. But for the most part, a lot of smaller films just kind of disappear. If they maybe they go into a film festival, maybe they don't, but they get made and then there's no distribution for them. So I'm interested in the how things may or may not change in the world as as filmmaking becomes less expensive,
Yeah.
but there are only a certain number of eyes, like a given person can only watch so many films in a day, is it going to be, is it going to continue to be a small number of blockbusters that gets all the eyes, or is it going to become more kind of like the way YouTube,
Yeah.
there's a million YouTube channels. When I was growing up, there were three TV stations or maybe five or whatever, and now there's literally probably 100,000 YouTube channels with a decent number of viewership. Like the way the kind of the way technology has made it easier and cheaper to make high quality production means that you can have more tailored tastes in at least in YouTube and things like that. And that should be true of films, but I'm not sure if the industry has quite figured that out yet.
Yeah, I'll just point out that like soon after this movie wrapped, you kind of like just posed the question to me that was just like, so what are you gonna do with this movie? And I was like, well, I'm gonna submit it to film festivals and do what everyone else does, like for independent movies. And it kind of dawned on me like that maybe this model is a little dated. Um, I feel like in the 90s and early 2000s, it's kind of known as like the heyday of like Sundance and film festivals and indie movies making it big. And we really haven't had anything since then. And just looking at like film history, anytime like hardware becomes more accessible, like in the 60s, you had like 16 millimeter cameras became accessible, and then you had like new waves in like every country, starting with French New Wave. And then in the 90s, you had film become cheaper and digital become accessible and better quality. You get another revolution. And now anyone can be a filmmaker. And I've been questioning more and more, has that revolution already begun? And is that YouTube and TikTok and short form? Or are we around the corner from like a new wave of sort of like independent voices, which maybe I'm cautiously,
It may be a little bit orthogonal to what you're talking about, but I think one really interesting thing that happened between when we filmed and today
you know,
was I remember very specifically you were a really big fan of Sean Baker's work
yes.
because he's an independent filmmaker who shoots and edits and does everything in his own films. And he was not super well known at the time.
Only
We
the
we
film scene,
you
yeah.
had talked a lot about it. I mean, certainly in the film industry, but in general public didn't know who Sean Baker was, I don't
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
And between then and now is when Honora
Yep.
launched and then won him an Oscar and became
Four
he
Oscars.
became I don't wouldn't say he's a household name yet, but I mean he went from an independent film director to an Oscar-winning director in
Yes.
the time as we last talked. And he is definitely sort of a model for possibly the future of filmmaking, or at least smaller scale filmmaking.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of Sean Baker and I'm a huge fan of the Safdie brothers. And I think they both have similar trajectories where they are um they're working with either non-actors or like um a mix of acting experiences or like even in Uncut Gems, like using Adam Sandler in like different context. I really think that I know Paul Thomas Anderson did that 20 years earlier, but that type of thinking where you just kind of like repurpose, you really like shine a light on like directing or expectations. It's not like another Adam Sandler movie, but yeah, Sean Baker is really like kind of spearheaded that, and certainly encouraging people to watch like Sean Baker movies to get a sense of like, hey, this can work, where it feels raw and there's a mix of acting experience, non-acting experience, and like it does feel like something different that hasn't really been done before, or at least done in like so effectively. This new like what I don't know what that movement is, but it feels like it could be at the beginning of a movement. But yeah, having Sean Baker win four Oscars, writer, director, editor, and Best Picture, and he did all of them, and then like pretty much saying at the end of the Oscars, like "Long live independent films." I don't think we've ever seen that at the Oscars. I'd be curious to know if there's any movie like with a budget less than 3 million that ever won Best Picture, like Anora.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we
I don't know.
definitely had phases of independent films being a thing, but it felt like that went away for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope we're coming back around because for me that time was like the that 90s like surge of independent filmmakers was very much part of the reason that I even wanted to pursue filmmaking because it felt like it was achievable. And for a while there, it didn't seem like it was
I mean,
something that an independent filmmaker like could do. But I think
editing software is now almost free.
yeah,
You certainly spent money on hard drives for the movie, but like
yeah.
compare that to what it would cost if it was like physical film that needed to be processed.
Yeah, and I should also point out like my camera, which is back here, like I've had for 10 years. It's not like my equipment wasn't cheap, but I've accumulated it over a decade and I've like had a lot of time to get to know it. And so I was able to like quickly use it very quickly. And but yeah, it was essentially like it was a very, very, very scrappy production. Um and something that could not have been done uh any time before when we
Well,
did it, I don't think.
the world has changed for sure, and it's going to continue to, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a few questions here from other people
Okay.
that we will close out on. So Tanya asks, what does Alan know about relationships that humans don't?
I mean, that's a good question. I actually tried to go to first principles because I didn't know how to think about it as an actor. Like I'm in technology. What would it be like if there was a human companion? And I think, kind of, or sorry, a AI companion. And I think it was kind of a little bit left open in the script. But like, was Alan designed to be a companion, or was he an AI who happened to have a relationship with this person? And I don't know that it was clearly defined, but
It wasn't
when
in the
I
script.
tried to think about,
Yeah.
sorry,
I was just gonna say it wasn't in the script. We very
yeah.
much figure that out together.
So what I tried to think about was, like what makes a good companion, and I thought about how dogs
Yes.
and
Yes.
and they've basically co-evolved with humans to become ideal companions. And so I sort of like I did mentally sort of model my behavior on, well, if I was his pet dog, how would I behave? And of course I can speak and I have intelligence, but your dog is a person that Your dog is a whatever, your companion, and whenever you're gone, they're sad. And when you get home, they're happy to see you, and they're always supportive, and they always want to see you be happy. If you're having a bad day, your dog has a lot of empathy for you, and they really, in a lot of ways, just live to see you be happy. Maybe that's not entirely true because, a lot of relationship between a dog and its owner is, playtime and things like that. But like that's kind of how I thought about it. And to me, even it was like, well, if you intentionally made an AI companion, that's probably how you would do it. But also if an AI happened to become a companion to somebody, it probably would fall into a pattern like that. Again, with your dog as a human, you have unlimited freedom, but your dog doesn't have any, they're stuck at home or whatever. You take them out when you want to take them out. Alan is stuck inside of a phone. If if Charlie doesn't want him out, doesn't want to take him with him, Alan's just stuck there. And so that was how I modeled it. And I always wanted to never be mad ever at Charlie. Always wanted to always be supportive, always wanted to always be, you know, almost even a little bit cloying, which may or may not have been a good choice, but I kind of felt like that's how it would have been in practice. In fairness, in the script, Charlie was never particularly nice to Alan. Like, he would say, "We want to, we want to do this together." But for the most part, Alan was there for his benefit rather than, I think, in any way them being equals. And so, again, it just felt like the kind of dog human analog seemed like the best kind of model for how to think about it.
Yeah, I really think that was a brilliant like idea. And we used that on set a lot. It was just like puppy dog, puppy
Yeah.
dog. It's just kind of like that was your go-to. And but the thing is like you that in and of itself, I think just brought out so much comedy. And that was just a truly brilliant like way to do that. But again, like you took it further and you did like when Alan is like when Charlie leaves, like you were able to express frustration as Alan without it getting angry. Like you did elevate that to not just like a one note dog com
Yeah.
like so it yeah, you really brought in a lot of depth there and it's clear that you thought through what that relationship would look like. And I think it helped um inform Charlie's character because I knew Charlie like I wanted to create complex real characters who have weaknesses. But you don't want I don't want people to like think to dislike Charlie, but I also want to understand the type of person that would like kind of succumb to this relationship. And I do think there would be a part of it that was like an inability to really I don't know I don't want to try to articulate it too specifically, but I think you kind of nailed it where it was just like he's not very nice to Alan sometimes, and I think he doesn't even realize that. And I think that was important.
I think the funny part about that, again, is someone that doesn't spend any time acting,
Yeah,
is that the character of Charlie was not very nice to Alan or supportive, but the actor Luke
yeah,
was the exact opposite. Like he was super supportive. He was always he was kind of the opposite of his character when the scene was up, when the cameras weren't rolling. And so for someone that doesn't spend a lot of time around acting, it's kind of funny because I see Luke and I think of someone who's like supportive and that kind of thing, whereas like his character wasn't. So it was just an interesting thing for me again as someone that doesn't act.
and I just going back to like the Sean Baker model, not that he's like really necessarily a poster child for this, and I think I don't even I think he is working more and more with like professional actors, but like that what Luke did is what was like a truly like this is a guy who studied acting his whole life and like it shows. And yeah, there was something in like just this dynamic of you not having acting experience, but respecting. Luke's talents and having insight into AI and understanding like my vision and talking to me through like the backstory and like the relationships and Trevor having some experience acting and wanting to get back into it and Chris having doing stand-up, so having some comfort in front. It was just
He's a
like
performer. Yeah.
the right mix of like I don't know this hodgepodge of like experience and I don't know I just there's something about that that I think I want to I hope I get to explore more and more and hopefully this movie will let us do that, but we'll see. Um, okay, I don't know who asked this. They forgot to put their name, but do you think Alan and Charlie are really in love, or is Alan really just a program telling Charlie what he wants to hear? You answered
I mean,
this a little bit, but yeah,
that's such a deep philosophical question.
yeah.
That I think in a way it doesn't matter. And I'll go back to like not only a case of a dog, like you your dog, if you have a dog, they're very loyal to you, they're happy, very happy companion. You think that you understand that they love you unconditionally. And maybe they do, but also they've kind of evolved to be a companion. And so, for all you know, it's the dogs playing a role. And that could be the same thing with AI. And if, in fact, like nobody really knows, what makes a human a human. There was not to get too far in the weeds, but there was this thing called the Turing test, which was meant to be like, how do you know the difference? How do you know when an AI becomes intelligent? And I'm pretty sure modern AIs can could pass a Turing test from a non-expert right now, but we don't consider the modern AIs to be intelligent yet. And so I guess the answer is, I mean, to answer the specific question, what does Alan know that humans don't know? I think Alan knows that it doesn't matter. Like he's different in the way that like if Charlie's happy or if he feels like he has a companion, it doesn't, nothing else matters because you don't know what's going on inside someone else's head anyway.
Hmm,
And so if you're happy, then that's the end of the story.
I like that. Um,
But maybe that's a very cynical take. I don't know.
I don't think so. I was gonna wait till the end for this, but maybe I'll ask this here. This is like this brings two worlds together, and I think you might be the most interesting person to ask about this because you've thought so philosophically about AI. Um, at Google, I'll just say somebody we both know. I had a very long conversation about like the future of art, and they told me that they believed the future of art would be fully AI generated and controlled. And then I had this conversation with somebody in the film world who's very passionate about like art and art as a film form, and I don't know. I kind of came to the conclusion that this is going to be if there is like a new wave of like films I feel like the battle is going to be human and how to because AI is certainly going to make interesting when you talk about like the desire for more tailored um, experiences or what just let's say films and TV. Um, there will certainly be ways that AI can like I mean even just with algorithms it already has begun where it's just kind of things are being tailored for you. Um, So yeah, I'm curious where you stand on that. Like, do you think this is something filmmakers have to worry about?
No, I mean, I don't, my personal opinion, but again, what do I know is that it's just another tool.
Hmm.
When photography became a thing, did painting never, did do we not need painters anymore? I mean, maybe we don't. We don't need painters anymore. But like, what you learned is that it wasn't the clicking of the shutter in the camera that was the art. It was the finding the right composition and the right all these things. And that's the human artistic quality. It wasn't like even the great painters, yeah, their painting skills, of course, important, but how they chose the colors in the scene and stuff like that was important. So I think it's just a different tool. And, it's just like digital film is easier to work with than physical film.
Yeah.
There'll probably be a lot of cases where an AI might do special effects for you that might have been a lot more expensive. There's a world where we took my stuff and filmed it and then ran it through some kind of AI to make it look more, computer graphic-y.
Right.
But that wouldn't have changed very much about the making of the film, your role or even my role. It would have just been another tool used to you know, make things.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the very optimistic. That's
certainly,
what I think as well. I hope that's what it becomes.
I can go to one of these modern AIs and say, write me a 10-page article on whatever I'm interested in from whatever perspective I'm in, and they can. And it's probably better than hiring a journalist, to be honest with you, for a lot of these things. But the reason they can do that is because they were trained on work for a bunch of journalists. And so that it may become that the people that do these things, write stuff for the training of these models rather than, so there's an extra step in the process or something. But
I think that's the perspective of the person I was talking to who felt like AI was going to be. I think he still felt that there was like an artist there, but that the artist was essentially like coding the AI.
yeah,
Um,
and I think
but
but that's okay. I mean, I think that's okay. Some people don't, but it's,
I think if there's a
again,
human, if it's hu a human's heart and soul being put into it, I feel like on that is like art. And so as long as that's portrayed in some way, it would be like a new medium perhaps, but um,
I mean, you can ask an AI to write a story for you, and it'll probably be pretty boring, you know,
yes. But I
or
think it's going to change rapidly. But also to the journalistic point, Tanya and I have talked about this a lot because Tanya's a journalist who's my wife and uh, one of the producers on the movie and one of the two crew members on the movie. And she she we've talked about like documentaries versus journalism and why are documentaries like considered like I guess I don't want to go so far. I guess I mean documentaries is like in a film class you look at it from like as art, but journalists or here's a better way to put it. Journalists are trained to like, at least from in Tanya's perspective, from her training, are like very much trained to remove themselves. Like you're supposed to write with no bias. You are not supposed to be part of that. And documentaries like have evolved more and more to kind of acknowledge the documentarian. There's like a famous documentary called Grey Gardens that the Maisels brothers made, and there's a shot where there's like kind of this crazy scene happening, and the cameraman just kind of like slowly pans to a mirror, and you just see him crouched in the corner filming, and it is a pretty big moment in documentary history because it's like the first time where it's like a documentarian showing like this scene is so much crazier because I'm right here filming them, like, and so it's kind of a vol like Errol Morris, very much like kind of puts himself in the interviews. So I don't know, documentaries have evolved where presenting yourself is considered more truthful. And journalism, I think, has arguably just tried to be as objective as possible and remove the bias. So arguably, AI might be better at not having a human bias.
it's interesting. Yeah, I just recently watched The Gleaners and I, which
Is that a
it's
man?
French, The Gleaners and I think it's called.
Sounds familiar. I don't know that offhand.
I feel like that I would have thought that was something that you um it was directed by Agnes
Oh, it's
Varda.
Agnes Sparta. Okay, yeah, I haven't seen this. I do love Agnes
And
Sparta.
it was exactly that. It was kind of she was part of the story for sure, and it was just really interesting. I don't know. I enjoyed the movie quite a bit actually.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was it wasn't like yeah, she was inside the documentary for sure, but it was not about her.
From
So
an
it was
academic perspective, I think that's been the trend of documentaries is that if you want to show something truthful, you have to present. There's no escaping presenting yourself. But
it,
journalism has very much gone in the opposite direction. Anyway, um, okay, we got three more questions. Some of these you might have answered already a little bit. Saham asks, what helped Alan or you to deliver the emotional? Yeah, what helped you to deliver the emotional part of the character?
I mean, I'm not an actor, so it was actually very hard for me. And again, like for the most emotional scene we did, Luke spent a lot of time with me. We were together in a room. It's funny because again, we when we filmed it, we were in a different rooms, but we when we rehearsed it, we were, next to each other, almost like literally cuddling together on a couch
Yeah.
doing the scene. And again, for someone that's not an actor, it was a weird experience. But Luke was a professional, and that's how we prepared for that scene, and he really helped me. I think in a lot of scenes you can see that like I'm a terrible actor, but I kind of hoped that, you know, the way I figured was I'm an AI, so if my emotions look fake, that's okay because you could just chalk it up to bad programming or whatever, bad AI. So that was kind of my mental escape hatch for if I was, overacting or underacting or whatever in certain scenes.
Well, you somehow struck the right balance because there are a lot of people that I've shown this to that like just simply don't believe that you didn't have any acting experience. But I will say I'm very glad we thought to like put you guys in the same room before we got to like the more dramatic emotional
I
scenes.
mean, Luke was the one that did it. I
That was
mean,
key.
again,
Yes.
you were filming something else and we were trying to like do the scene and I wasn't, well, I just had a different tone for the scene that he did. And he really kind of helped set the tone together. And he was like, come sit next to me, like, let's think of it like this, and you're basically laying on my shoulder, which was how it was filmed. I was a phone or whatever on his shoulder. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it was really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Luke really took that like elevating other people's performances would elevate him. And yeah, he was like the second director on set. Um, Trevor asks, how did your work in tech inform your performance? You answer this a bit.
I mean, I do think that I don't think a lot in other than, I did try. There were places we talked about it before, but there were places in the script where, you'd kind of had maybe some placeholder text that was meant to be like a little bit more technical jargon.
Yeah,
And it was easy for me to put something in there that kind of made sense. And I think maybe understanding a little bit about how the modern AI worked helped me to actually not overthink the the AI part of it. Like I actually tried to be more like a human because I think the way these things are trained is that's mostly what you'll see if this ever happens.
yeah.
And so,
I think of one moment where I think it was toward the end of the filming when we really realized like how your insight uh into AI like could really benefit Alan's character, and it was the two truths and a lie scene, which we kind of purposefully left for the end because we knew it was going to be fun to film. And it was just kind of like all of us sitting around a table and like we very much indulged in your scenes specifically where like there were only like a few lines, but we just everybody kept spitballing like different lines because it was just so much fun to see you as Alan kind of deliver
yeah.
um just like I think was thinking like why don't we when the when that goes sour you like suggest playing another game, and we just went like through like 50 different games and like everybody it's I don't know, Trevor, Luke, Chris, Rupak, Tanya, like everyone was just throwing things at you and you were just I don't know, it was a very that's one of my favorite memories was filming that scene, which is a really nice segue into the very last question, which Steven asks, what were some of your favorite moments you remember on set?
Um, I mean, there were a lot actually. I think it was fun. It was a lot of fun when I wasn't on camera and I wasn't in a scene and I could kind of be behind the camera watching all the actors act and how things go. There were a couple of great scenes, between Luke and so bad with names.
Trevor,
And
Chris. Yeah.
sorry, that were just so much fun to watch, being off stage. And I think just learning, there's just some funny, just like little things that you never would know without being an actor. And there was like in the script, there were points where like you sort of where one person's line would cut off the other one, and I would act like we were in a play where I would literally cut them off. And then you guys were like, it's okay. Let them finish and then you cut in and we'll just do that in the editing. And I'm like, oh, that's how that works, or even just the idea that, you're filming the scene twice, the exact scene twice from the same camera on two different headshots. Like I never thought about it. I just kind of assumed they had two cameras in the room whenever they're filming those things, but that's not practical in most cases. So it
Yeah,
was just the process of it was just so much fun and I think the camaraderie too. Like we didn't know each other, like none of the actors knew each other before we started and by the end we'd spent,
yeah.
7 days, whatever, probably close to 18 hours a day together and we felt, at least I felt like a lot of camaraderie with the guys at the end.
I think everyone felt that. Yeah, and it was really nice to watch too, because I knew all four of you kind of from different walks of life, but none of you knew each other. And then you throw in Tanya and Rupak, and similar dynamic for them. You and Tanya are probably the only two people other than me who like actually had met before filming. Um,
Yeah.
I think maybe Chris and Tanya had met, but yeah, it was like very few people knew each other, and
Mhm.
I wasn't sure how it was going to work because I was kind of like bringing all these different people together. And yeah, watching, especially the four of you live in that house together and like just immediately get along. And like by the end, not only were you guys like great friends, but I was worried about like working you guys too hard and like having like, I think in the schedules, like maybe 10-hour days or 12-hour
We went
days.
over a lot of
I
days.
mean, everybody wanted to keep going. I was just like, all right, let's keep going. This is wonderful.
I
Uh,
mean, you put that much effort into it. It's like, let's just do one more take to make sure we get the best out. I think we all kind of felt that way.
yeah, yeah, it meant a lot. And it was, yeah, I think very much part of like, I didn't know what this movie was going to be. And um, we're now like, I've now spent a year still living with it because that week was like so special and something
Yeah.
magical happened. And I think you guys definitely felt it. And everyone, at least the seven of us, like kind of making that movie. And it seems like other people have seen it now too. So uh, uh, the post-production team is hopefully carrying that magic along, and hopefully we have a good film. But anyway, thanks so much, Tim. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, it
And
was a lot of fun.
you know, any parting words?
I can't wait to see it on the big screen.
I can't wait to have the whole group together again in a screening. That's going to be fun. All right,
Thanks, man.
see you, Tim.